People are flawed, there's no real doubt about it. We naturally tend towards certain attitudes, some good, some arguably bad. Moreover, it's almost impossible to be fully objective and self-critical. At first, we may not even notice our own unhealthy behaviors, despite being influenced by them on a regular basis. We perceive that something is not quite right, but we struggle to grasp the real meaning behind it. Until, eventually, we come to terms with our imperfections, finally starting to make sense of it all. Handling your relationships is all but straightforward. It's difficult to accept that not everybody is going to like you, but some people are just not compatible with each other. On the other hand, you might happen to drive people away by displaying a spectrum of negative behaviors. Depending on the situation, you might become aggressive, defensive, needy, detached, or submissive, struggling to contain the extent of these attitudes, let alone prevent them. These tendencies are often caused by the dismissal of your feelings. You avoid having a honest look into your worries and your motivations. And eventually the lack of a transparent, upfront approach will turn people away from you. And you can't really blame them for it. Dealing with inquietude in social environments is a tough one. You suddenly feel distress, becoming tense, nervous, and confused. You lose focus, awareness, and self-control, affecting your behaviors, your interactions, and your overall well-being. In the long run, you'll tend to avoid meeting new people, escaping the chance of falling prey of it again. But you'll end up hindering your social skills and your confidence in public even further. And it's difficult to figure it out. You get used to it, you barely even notice it, as this is all you've ever known yourself to be. Nonetheless, it affects your approach and it morphs your behavior for the worse. Socializing, regardless of your personality traits, is essential for your well-being. But sometimes a shift in the environment might cause you to lose contact with the people you usually rely on. This can easily lead to solitude, especially deep, meaningful bonds for one reason or another not easy to make. You no longer feel needed and surrounded by an intimate circle of people, only managing occasional fleeting conversations. This may trigger a vicious cycle of bad attitude and frustration as you become helpless and desperate for a consistent human interaction. Reaching out is not easy at the best of times, as you may even feel uncomfortable receiving attention after a while, making you feel awkward and pitied. Reflection, when uncontrolled and relentless, can quickly turn into overthinking, likely to be exhausting and distracting. Such deep thought is usually caused by regret or indecision. Either way, you become detached and absent-minded, as what's happening in your head takes over your attention. You're unlikely to ruminate over a mistake you can't forgive yourself for committing, fixating on it and wishing it had never happened. This leads to tormentation and self-deprecation, as well as crippling your ability to make a choice and commit to a decision out of fear of making another mistake. Being insecure will likely cause you to become defensive and competitive. You will force yourself to match higher standards out of fear of not being good enough. Any success, praise, or compliments will go to your head, making you judgmental and condescending of those not at your level. You live to be validated. You will also be much more vulnerable to criticism, as any observation will hurt your ego. Any failure, mistake, or imperfection on your part will cause you to question your worth and your intelligence. Sometimes your mood spirals towards a pessimistic, disheartened state, albeit often caused by a single specific event. The build-up of unresolved or even undetected negative feelings will have caused the situation to unfold. The unpleasantness will end up feeding itself, making you feel miserable for being miserable in the first place. You will be in a state of haze and apathy, with no real intent. You feel helpless, trying to resolve your thoughts into clarity. Eventually, something clicks. We finally change our perspective, discovering the causes for our struggles, failures, and mistakes. Many aspects of our personality start to make sense as a pattern emerges from our negative experiences. Overcoming our flaws is a continuous, relentless effort, but only a healthy level of introspection can allow for growth and self-improvement. Knowing all the time, all the chances we have been wasting by not being our best selves is frustrating. But it's always too late to change the past. What we can do is focus on what we can change. Perhaps that's the whole point. Improving on ourselves, changing for the better, understanding our weaknesses and acting upon them, making the most of it.